Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dives. We're switching gears a bit today, diving into a career path that's anything but dull. Get ready to explore the world of confectionery.
It's more exciting than people might think.
Right. We've got a stack of insights from RoleCatcher here, all about what it takes to make it as a confectioner. We'll uncover what they actually do day to day, the different work environments, and how competitive it can be.
And hopefully we'll satisfy some sweet tooths along the way, even if you're not planning a career change.
Exactly. So when someone says confectioner, I think most people picture like a charming bakery with someone whipping up cookies.
That's a classic image for sure.
But looking at these RoleCatcher resources, it's clear that it's way more than that, right?
Oh, absolutely. While some do work in those cute bakeries, you'll find confectioners in large-scale factories. They might specialize as chocolatiers. You even have supermarkets with whole pastry departments. The scope is pretty impressive.
See, I never would have thought about that. And it's not just cookies and cakes either, right? RoleCatcher talks about this whole artistry of confectionery.
That's where it gets really interesting. The precision involved in crafting, say, those intricate sugar flowers for wedding cakes, or tempering chocolate to get that perfect snap. That's where the true skill comes in, turning sugar into an art form.
Edible masterpieces.
Exactly.
And that actually brings up something interesting when we talk about what confectioners really do. According to RoleCatcher, it's not just following recipes.
Oh, not at all.
It's about understanding ingredients, textures, flavors,
Yeah.
using that knowledge to innovate and make something truly unique.
It takes a keen eye, a dedication to perfection. And of course, you have to have a passion for this. It's more than just making something sweet. You're creating an experience.
You're totally right. Okay, but let's get real for a second. RoleCatcher doesn't sugarcoat that this job can be demanding. Long hours on your feet, sometimes working with heavy equipment, not to mention hot kitchens.
Right. It's not always a piece of cake.
Exactly. It's physically demanding, needing stamina for those long hours, especially during busy seasons like the holidays or when you've got a huge order to fill for an event.
I bet those holiday rushes are something else.
Oh, I can only imagine.
They really put a confectioner's skills to the test. Hundreds of cookies, cakes, all needing to be perfect while you're maintaining those high standards. It takes serious dedication.
And passion, like you said. And it's not just the physical side of things, is it? RoleCatcher also talks about how much the industry is changing, like trends and stuff.
Absolutely, it's evolving all the time. Sustainability is huge right now, thinking about where ingredients come from, minimizing waste in the kitchen.
Makes sense, especially with people being more aware of that kind of thing these days.
Exactly. And we can't forget the demand for healthier options. Confectioners are having to adapt, using alternative sweeteners, incorporating more fruits, whole grains. Some even specialize in gluten-free and vegan treats now.
It's like reinventing indulgence, huh? Finding that balance between delicious A&D, good for you.
That's a challenge.
For sure. Now, for anyone listening who's thinking, okay, this confectioner thing sounds amazing, RoleCatcher breaks the career path down into stages. Almost like climbing a sugar ladder, right?
Yeah, I like that analogy. And yeah, you're right. It's a good way to picture it. You start at the entry level, focusing on the fundamentals. I remember when I was starting out, just assisting the experienced confectioners, prepping everything, mastering those basic techniques. It's the foundation you build on.
Right, like you're there to learn, soak it all up.
Exactly. And then you progress to junior confectioner, where you get more independence, more responsibility. I once saw a junior confectioner who came up with this whole new flavor profile for a line of truffles. Their creativity really stood out to the senior staff. That's the kind of initiative that gets noticed.
That's got to feel good, proving yourself like that. So, what's after junior? What's the next rung on the ladder?
Senior confectioner. At that point, it's not just about making the sweets anymore. You're managing production, you're mentoring the junior staff, making sure those quality standards are always met. I worked with a senior confectioner once. She had this incredible knack for scheduling, could streamline the whole production process without sacrificing quality at all. Invaluable.
Wow, sounds like leadership, problem solving,
Yeah.
a whole other skill set on top of the baking. And then what about the top, the peak sugar mountain? What do you even call a confectioner who's reached that level?
Ah, you're talking about confectionery manager. That's where your vision and business sense really come into play. You're overseeing everything, the recipes, the costs, staying up to date on all the trends we were talking about. It's a lot to juggle.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And speaking of skills, it's clear this isn't just about knowing your way around a mixing bowl. RoleCatcher emphasizes those transferable skills. the stuff that goes beyond the kitchen.
Absolutely essential.
Like you need customer service skills, right?
Yeah, for sure. Think about it. You might be interacting with customers directly, getting their feedback, even taking custom orders. Building that rapport is huge.
And food safety knowledge is non-negotiable.
Oh, absolutely critical. Confectioners are responsible for making sure everything is handled properly, that all those safety standards are met. It's about protecting their customers, maintaining that trust.
And for anyone dreaming of opening their own shop someday, you need business skills on top of everything else.
Huge point. You're managing inventory, pricing things, marketing. It's a whole other side to being successful.
Like a whole separate recipe book, but for business.
Exactly. Whether you want a small bakery or something bigger, those skills make all the difference.
Totally. Speaking of resources, we got to give RoleCatcher more credit here. They don't just give general advice, they have actual tools to help people break into this field.
I was impressed by their interview prep especially. They have so many potential questions. It gets you thinking like, okay, what might they ask me and how should I answer?
Smart. In such a competitive field, that's clutch. You could have the skills, the passion, but being able to talk about it well in an interview,
Yeah,
essential.
totally agree. And it's not just interview stuff. RoleCatcher helps with networking, finding potential employers, even figuring out different career paths within confectionery.
It's like a roadmap to navigate this whole world. Okay, before we wrap up our sugar rush here, I got to ask, what does the future hold for confectioners? We talked about consumer trends changing, but what about technology? How's that going to shake things up?
That's a big one, right? We're already seeing automation in some places.
Yeah, like those videos where machines are piping out super intricate chocolate designs.
Yeah.
Kind of mesmerizing.
Exactly. But I think there's always going to be a need for the human touch, that artistry, that creativity. You can't replace that.
Right. Will robots ever get the balance of flavors just right? Or make a sugar flour that's actually delicate? It's about more than the task. It's about the joy people get from something handmade.
That's the heart of it for sure. The passion, that connection between the maker and who gets to enjoy it. So as technology keeps changing, it'll be interesting to see how confectioners adapt.
Will they use it as a tool to push their craft even further? Or will there be a push to keep things traditional, even if it means smaller batches, more handmade?
Now, those are some tasty questions. And what about sustainability? Will we see more local ingredients, zero-waste kitchens, all that?
And flavor trends are always changing.
Mhm.
What's the next salted caramel going to be? Will confectioners get even more experimental? Savory elements in sweet treats, maybe.
It's an exciting time to be in the field, that's for sure. And the people who are passionate, who can adapt, who like to experiment, those are the ones who will rise to the top, like a perfectly big souffle.
Love that. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of confectionery. Challenging sometimes, but ultimately so rewarding. Hopefully this has been inspiring, whether you're a pro or just curious.
And hey, if you're looking for guidance, resources like RoleCatcher are out there. Don't hesitate to use them.
Take a bite out of this world, you might just find your next passion. Until next time, happy learning, everyone.